Hey everybody, hope you're doing well. My name is Stephen Fogg. I am the Principal and Chief Marketing Officer of Fogg Media, and I'm going to take probably the next 40 minutes to an hour to basically give you guys a look underneath the hood of what we do here. And in doing so, hopefully be able to give you guys some tips, some secrets, some tricks that you guys can take back to your practice tomorrow and make some impactful decisions. So the full title of this presentation is 7 Medical Marketing Secrets Becoming the #1 Choice for Your Patients. In doing so, maximizing your return on investment with specialized do-it-yourself marketing tricks. And that is quite some wordsmithing we got going on there, but I hope you enjoy. And before we move forward, I want to share with you some housekeeping tips that we have. So in our first couple webinars, we realized that most of you are probably eating lunch at your desk right now in your office, and that's great. We appreciate you being here during that. But we asked that we mute your microphones during it. We happen to have some patient conversation going on in one of our previous webinars, and we'd like to keep that to a minimum if we could. Next, there will be time at the end for questions. But if there's something that comes up as I'm talking, and you have a question that you might not be able to get to or whatnot, feel free to use the chat feature. Submit your questions. I'll take a look at the end, and again, I will have some opportunity for questions at the end. And lastly, as you'll see in the next couple slides, this organization, we just want to help. As our ethos, that is what our goal as for this organization. And that doing so, think about what you were hoping to learn today. What attracted you to this webinar, this next 40 minutes to an hour, and make sure you have that in the back of your mind. If you don't get that answer from this, feel free to ask at the end. Hey, I was really hoping to learn more about this, and we will do our best to answer your question at the very end. So that is, some of the housekeeping items, and appreciate everything and the opportunity. And so let's move forward with the presentation at hand. And first and foremost, let's bring up, who am I? Who is this individual that is speaking to you today? Well, first, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Stephen Fogg, and again, I'm the Principal and Chief Marketing Officer of Fogg Media. More importantly, I'm the father of 2 beautiful girls, a 10-year-old and a 5-year-old, who a week from today, I cannot believe this, a week from today, will be in kindergarten. It's bittersweet, I tell you, for all y'all who have children out there. Our youngest is no longer in the baby toddler years, and it's quite to me an emotional day a week from today. I'm also a husband. I've been together for about 12 years, married for 7 of them. Before that, and for what most important for this presentation and the validity behind it is, I'm a media marketing man. I spent 16 years working in and for some of the largest multinational brands in the world. Before starting Fogg Media, I worked for 21st Century Fox. And I like to tell people that if you happen to watch maybe a Carolina Panthers game in South or North Carolina during a 4-year stretch, there's a good chance that I was in charge of the broadcast from beginning to end, from all the commercial placement to the marketing, the promotions, and everything in between. And it was a great opportunity. It was a great, great gig, and really learned a lot from my time there and from all my other opportunities then. But, truthfully, I knew there was something else there. And it starts back at the why me. Why am I here? Why are you? Why am I so grateful to have you here and listening to me? And it all stems back to this. May 20th, 2009, I was diagnosed with testicular cancer. The next 13 months, I was at a level 1 hospital trauma. I was at another hospital getting another surgery done, and I also had 3.5 rounds of chemotherapy at a local independent oncology center. And this happens to be a picture of me sleeping the day away during one of those chemotherapy sessions. It's 3.5 rounds because my body was rejecting one of the drugs called bleomycin so badly that we just couldn't get through it anymore. They would try to counteract it with steroids and Benadryl, and it just stopped working to a point. I ended up in the thing I call Pope Mobile. And if you're on one of my previous presentations talking about storytelling, you'll see the picture of me in the Pope Mobile. But I digress. During that time, it was insightful because, one, I was a patient, and I had this perception of healthcare going into the process. I knew these very large brands that I was at the 2 major hospital systems in Charlotte, and I knew about those brands. But I tell you what, during the whole thing, like I also had my marketing cap on, and I saw that there was a whole lot more involved in this whole process of healthcare and helping people than this branded marketing that we saw. There's stories, there's the people, there's the feelings and emotions and all, and the utilities and all these other things that go involved with that I really felt were being overseen. So, I knew from that point forward, I wanted to refocus my career on helping this industry. And I tried right off the bat, tried starting a nonprofit, didn't work out. I was too young, dumb, and immature to get it off the ground. And then I just tried to jump in, volunteering at every nonprofit in the cancer space that I could think of, hoping that something would click. And it really didn't. Nothing really stuck out to me. So unfortunately, I had to go back. And that's where, I was thankful enough to get back into my media career. And end up with 21st Century Fox. But I tell you, there was a momentous shift during that career that changed things. And it was when we were traveling back from a market trip to Atlanta, and we were pitching the Southeast Toyota dealerships about the Super Bowl. If you know anything about media marketing, you know that is the pinnacle of your career. You get a place in advertisement in the Super Bowl, and we closed a deal with Southeast Toyota dealerships to do this. And we're all excited, but we're all driving separately. And I was driving home that day, and I just felt numb. And I knew it was time for a change. And I hired a business coach, and we talked, and we went down all the avenues. And it finally came to be that, wait a minute, you have all this experience in marketing and media. And at that time, too, I also was getting my master's degree in marketing communications, ironically. And you have this passion for helping the healthcare industry. Why don't you combine those two to do something great? And that's where Fog Media was birthed. And I'm proud to say that, it'll be 4 years in a few days that since we've been together. And I like to tell people that, Fog Media is my why. I turned that why me moment of fighting for those 13 months in those 2 hospital systems at an oncology center. I turned it around into my why. And I appreciate you letting me share this part of the story with you, because I think it really differentiates us from, just your standard marketing agency. There's a lot of, we want to make sure we help you. We know what it's like, and we particularly see what's going on there. And so, I want to take a few minutes to share with you who we are, what we're all about. And it's definitely about compassion, empathy. We always tell everybody we're here to bring an impact, bring results, and bring education. Now, I'll get off my soapbox here, and I'll move into the broader presentation, which I'm pretty sure that's what you guys are here for. And we're going to talk about the secret. The whole presentation is, these 7 marketing secrets you can take back to your practice and make an impact. Well, what is that secret? What do we think that is? Well, I'll tell you, it all stems back to these 3 words when I show them to you. I want you to keep these in the back of your head when you're going into it. Common sense methods. Common sense methods. I'll tell you, during my 16 years working in this business, I'm realizing something, that common sense isn't really that common. And that's a shame, because it really should be. And with everything we're going to show with you here, it should indicate a light bulb moment of, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, this is why you should be doing that. Excuse me. I want to make sure that it hits home with you when we're moving forward to the presentations. The secret to everything in the marketing world is common sense. You don't need to have my level of expertise. You need to know it's common sense. If you think that's just what they want to hear, then so be it. So with that in mind, common sense methods, let's go in the first step, shall we? First one is number 1, put your best foot forward online. Put your best foot forward online. Well, somebody in my background knows why this is important. But I'll tell you why. And it's because 82% of all healthcare searches start online. 82% of all healthcare searches start online. Now, I'll tell you that number can differ. Some analytics say it's 80%, some say it's high as 85. We kind of split the difference and source our own differential, because it's still extremely impactful. Even at 82%, that means everything but 18% of all healthcare traffic starts online. That's really big. To know that, the common sense method, like, this is the largest pool of people, the largest opportunity for you to reach people and get your message across. It should be impactful, pertinent, to start your marketing journey in digital, because 82% of all searches start online. Now, there's many ways to reach that 82%. And we use it in a simplistic form as content distribution channels. There's 3 ways to reach them. There's your own media, there's your earned media, and there's your paid media. And they're simply put, these are 3 funnels of ways to reach people. And I tell you, we stack them like a layered cake. At Fog Media, we typically want you to focus on your own media first. That is your website, your social media, email marketing. Why? Because these are things you own. Simply put, you own them. You have the most control over them and the most equitable to you. So that website, of those 82% of people, we want to make sure your website spits shine, has all the pedigree information out there. We want to make sure it's responsive and active for your phone, for mobile, because more so than none, they're going to be starting their search on a phone, potentially in the waiting room of a large hospital system, trying to look for a second opinion. Social media, this is where you start selling your practice a little more. And it doesn't have to be too complex here, to be quite honest with you, because engagement rates, typically, unless you are, a Dr. Hyman of the world, engagement rates really aren't significant, that high in social media. But one thing that stood out to us as we launched this business was email marketing being a very valuable tool in healthcare. And what we learned quickly on is this was a very valuable tool because for lack of better terms, the buyer's journey in healthcare is dramatically different than, say, that of a person who is trying to buy a car or a dishwasher or a widget. Now, why is that? Well, all those are very emotional benefits, but there's empathy that needs to be expressed when you're dealing in healthcare, because 9 times out of 10, this is a very scary, very personal journey. Of that 9 out of 10, there's life and death instances that go on within healthcare. So we want to make sure that we are compassionate around that. We're also, keep in mind, our providers are the top 1% of minds worldwide. It frustrates me, it pains me from time to realize that, okay, our society doesn't look at them as the same way as professional athletes or artists or race car drivers or musicians. Why don't more of our doctors get recognized the same way LeBron James would? It baffles me that we don't look at it in society that way. They're very smart people, and they're in their knowledge base is something that is very valuable to put into your website and your email marketing and your own thing. Once you focus on your own media, then you are working to earn media. And this is your SEO, search engine optimization, your reviews, maybe some media coverage. And if you're savvy enough with that, and your shares mentions across all that social media work that you've done in your own media. Now, again, owned and earned, these are things that you can do on your own. SEO, you can write some blogs with some keywords that you really want to target when people are searching things. Reviews and media coverage and shares mentioned, these are all things you can do. There are things that our organization or similar marketing agencies will do as well, with that we can go down that wormhole at any given time. The third channel is your paid. This is your paid social promotions, your display ads, advertorials, paid influencers, which I do not encourage going down. I'll tell you, I've seen more bad than good come out of healthcare organizations paying for influencers to promote something. It tends to backfire. Pay-per-click advertising and grassroots marketing. Now, I'll tell you, out of all those things I just mentioned, there's everything paid. Paid could be flying a blimp overhead with your message saying Dr. XYZ is the greatest. It can be whatever you want, whatever your mind desires. But of all those things, what I encourage all practices to do, particularly specialty and smaller independent practices, is invest in some pay-per-click advertising. Why? Because it really helps you protect your name, your likeness, and some of the things you do very well. So remember that number of 82% of all healthcare searches start online. Well, great, we've got it. We know that. We want to make sure the website and everything's looking great and spit shine. We want to make sure people get to it. SEO and reviews and media coverage, those things are great. They do work in that space. But your paid media, the pay-per-click advertising, ensures that people are getting to those things. So it ensures that when people are searching for, if you are, I'm just going to use oncology because that's part of the presentation, are looking for lung cancer, you buy up those AdWords. It's very beneficial to protect your name, your region, all those things. The other thing that I wish I've tried to get, and maybe it's just I need to let it die, but grassroots marketing. I see a lot of organizations, healthcare organizations, are very good to, sponsor a fun run or something like that, put their name on the back of a shirt and call it a day. And that's great. Don't get me wrong. It's so wonderful to have, to support the community like that. But you can use paid media and own it. And you can use grassroots media and own it too. And it's very simple. It's almost as simple as, buying some yoga mats, you can buy them by a roll, of a roll of 100 with your logo on it. And hire a yoga instructor to go teach a yoga class in a park one Saturday a month and give out those yoga mats. Then those yoga mats get put out into the yoga community of the major yoga studios throughout the area that you live in. Same goes with, I'm a cyclist. So why couldn't, an orthopedics group sponsor that we call them kits or jerseys to put your name on the back of the jersey? And, we're riding through rush hour traffic, a group of 10 of us, and have 10 of us riding around wearing your orthopedics jersey during rush hour traffic. That really symbolizes something. It also helps show that you are tying your name to something of health. It is a healthy resource. It's not along those lines. And granted, these are little grassroots things that you can invest a little and get a lot of return on. One, in helping the community, and two, by branding as well. So as we talked about, owned media, I want to share with you a case of a website that we've revamped. Here's one of our partners in their website before we revamped it. It is an emergency department group, and they're located in Charlotte. And here's what the website was before. It was not done for. It wasn't mobile responsive. It was very clunky. You can see there's a lot of information here. There's really, it's kind of hard to stay focused, to be honest with you. Stock photography, very complicated. Well, we took that and turned it into this. And actually, this is probably about a year old at this point. We changed stock photography with personalized photography with providers in the front, made it very simple. Still have the call to actions out there. We wanted the main one to be discovering the locations where they're located at. And I'll tell you, by doing these two, by revamping your website and by including all the things that we shared in front, focusing on your earned, and your paid media, we've seen significant increases with active users coming to their website. Now, I'll tell you, this is an emergency room department, so there are some techniques here that we're seeing from obviously being part of COVID. I don't credit all this growth to just what we've done. But by following those things, and we'll show an example of it. We have one provider who's writing content on a monthly basis for this group, and it's the active portrayer of all this growth that's going on here. So you can see by really just honing in and focusing on that 82% of where traffic's coming in, seeing great results and people coming to your website. And this chart was updated as late as early August. So that's step one. Let's go to step two. Step two is perception is reality. Going back to that 82% of all searches start online. Let's look at this. Using tools to help build your reputation online. All right, so we see these are two rheumatology groups in Charlotte. The top one has 3.1 stars and 21 Google reviews. The one on the bottom has 4.7 stars and 387 Google reviews. Now, if you were John or Jane Smith, patient looking for a rheumatologist in Charlotte, North Carolina, which one of those would you go to first? I think it's probably a given that you would focus on that second one. Now, the pool in here is this can be looked at as in two different ways. There's two separate practices going head to head, or in reality, this is the same practice, about a year apart from one another. When started, 3.1, 21 Google reviews, now they're 4.7, 387 Google reviews. All by doing this by using tools to help build your reputation online. The tool that this rheumatology group specifically is using is called Phreesia. It's a tool that manages all their referral-based traffic. They also use it for reputation management along those lines. There's other tools. We don't have one particular that we work with, but we have worked with, again, Phreesia in the past, Bird Eye and Podium. Some of our clients enact one of three of those things. And they all basically link up with your EMR, and it basically helps cultivate Google reviews, boost your image. As you look at the 20 reviews, 2 bad reviews on that 21 goes a lot further than 2 bad reviews on, or 20 bad reviews on that 387. And that's what makes the difference here. And again, your perception is reality online. And if you're trying to drive traffic to that beautiful website that you've done, all that social media, all the work you do, you want to make sure that it's coming together. They're seeing, hey, 4.7, 387, this is legit. Let's dive into this further. So that's step 2, perception is reality. Let's go to step 3, shall we? Step 3, less is more. Less is more. What do I mean by less is more? I think I'm going to use a real world example of something that we follow here. And I've followed for quite some time is Apple. I love this case study. I love Apple. And I love what they've done. If you remember Apple in the 80s and the early 90s, it was a few simple products, Apple II, Lisa, Macintosh. Then Steve Jobs is ousted and they pushed out everything you could possibly get. 100 different irradiations of a computer, peripherals. They were selling printers and cameras and message pads and power books and you name it. They were selling all this stuff. They're confusing your audience. They're diluting their product brand by just pushing everything out into the world. Steve Jobs comes back in and he sets a new tone. He sets this a 4 corners quadrant, which this is actually a model that we enact here at Fog Media with all of our clients. Is he enacted, okay, we want 4 corners and we want to do these 4 things right. With him, consumer products, professional products. He wanted to have a desktop in the consumer world and the pro world and a notebook in the consumer world and the pro world. And you see what came out of that. And you see what the ethos has. I don't have a slide here showing Apple's stock price from 1995 on to now, but we all know it's, if not the most valuable company, one of the most valuable companies in the world. And it's all about focusing on doing a few things very good and expanding from in there and staying hyper focused on those. And that is one of the things that we see a lot, that we struggle with a lot of our clients, is wanting to do so much. They're diluting the message, whereas even in their practice, and let's use it 82% as a reference point, as we use the website, 82% of the people come to their practice for those 4 things. But because that other 12% of things that's going on is not really selling really well, that's where all the focus and energy is going on. And it's limiting the resources that are going to those 4 things that are doing very well. And that is a very common mistake that we see in the healthcare marketing world. Is it's almost like a frustration and a reactive type of marketing. Again, focusing on the 4 corner quadrant of marketing is very, very beneficial in this case. So that less is more is number 3. Let's go to number 4 is let's create a memorable message and be authentic. What do we mean by that? Well, let's look at some brands that are doing this correctly. Now, truthfully, we probably should have taken off the logos. Probably should have removed the Apple logo, the McDonald's arches, the Coca-Cola, and the Subway logo, and just had you guys know what those logos are or what those brands are just by the words think different. I'm loving it. Got milk, open happiness, just do it, eat fresh. Like we all know these brands, right? They are memorable. They're authentic. They're basic and they're simple. It doesn't take much to really attract an audience, just to own it. And that's an example of how it works in the larger grand scheme of things. I'm going to show you an example of how we've done that in the healthcare space with that same rheumatology group that you saw beforehand. So in year 1, we were tasked with helping them brand and create a memorable message and be authentic. Well, the memorable message with this group is medicine that moves you. Think about it. Rheumatology group. This is joints. This is arthritis. This is gout. This is stuff that hurts. Medicine that moves you. If I'm dealing with rheumatology, I see that line, man, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? It really rings, and it's very simple. It's very matter of fact and simple. And that is the slogan that we put on everything. And then within it, we tie a few other things in there that kind of help, being authentic, getting back to doing the things you love, and then putting a quick little slogan of why you should look at us. 560 years of combined experience. We treat over 100 rheumatologic diseases, medicine that moves you. Let's reach out to them and let's see if they treat if one of those 100 diseases that they treat is mine. We think it makes a very big impact. It's a memorable message, and it's authentic, and it's truly delivering impact with the brand. Next is be a resource. Excuse me. So being a resource. What do we mean by being a resource? Well, I'm going to start this off by having a blank. Now, what do we mean by being a resource? First is provide a bigger impact with less language. Kind of shared that on the previous 2 slides with, I'm loving it. Medicine that moves you. You don't need to rewrite the Bible here. You need a quick and just provide impact with less. Less is more in many things. This next one is the thing that we have the most trouble with in healthcare. Is things that are important to the business might not be important to the patient. And it's hard to put this delicately and lightly because this is a very big occurrence that happens. There might be that one line item in their margins that is sticking out to them like a sore thumb, and there's a reason for it. It might only target a very, very, very niche segment of the audience, and that's really hard to get there. It might not alienate that other larger segment of your audience, but it's not going to attract to them as similar a substance as medicine that moves you. Going over the highlighting things. They could potentially think that, they know you're a resource. They know you're a resource. We just need to discover what is important to them. And it's really the high level topic, basic stuff, and use marketing to help solve their problems. And this goes back to the providing impact, being a resource and being educational that we talked about. You can use what you have to be to solve the problem, and we'll share some examples of how this works in a further slide. But again, being a resource, using all these things, all these tools to your expertise, and to help get the message across. The next one is provide education. Let's run through them again. Number one is put your best foot forward online. Why? 82% of all traffic starts there. Perception is reality. We showed about using tools to to really truly show the bang for your perception. Less is more, which I think now that we're going through this, you're seeing this is the point that we need to focus on. Less is more. Create a memorable message and be authentic. Be a resource. Provide education. Here's an example. Don't be afraid to share your wealth of knowledge. Remember that growth chart I showed you from previously after I showed our client in their growth? Well, predominantly a lot of it is coming from this right here. This is a blog written that we've cultivated with one of their providers called the Golden Hour. The doctor is Katie Golden. You have to look her up. But every month she reports in the front lines in the emergency department and writes an article based on what she's hearing about most in the ED. And then we take it over and help optimize it and make sure it gets out into the world. But I'll tell you, if we dug into their Google Analytics account, I'd show you the majority of their content is coming from these articles. Why? Because it's what people are searching out for. And that spike that we saw, particularly with Mima, this has been going on for about 2 years. She's been writing for us for about 2 years now. But this started picking up during COVID. Why? Because people were scared to go into the ED. People were scared to go in the hospital. And by doing all that stuff we talked about having a great, easy to reference present online with your own media, really optimizing everything in the earned media, working in the PR side, the shares and the likes, the SEO, and then working in some paid media to really Google realized how much of a resource that group is to this field. They recognize that, hey, this is a prominent emergency department group in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. And so when somebody is searching for end-of-life decisions or an introduction to long COVID, we're coming up more often than none in the top of searches because of it. And it's just gangbusters of traffic. It's all predominantly coming from stuff along these lines. So again, it's very interesting to see how, and it's weird, when this is why we focus on going owned media first, earned media second, paid media last. Some agencies will tell you to work on paid media before earned media because it's a quick and responsive bang for your buck. But earned media, as long as it is the most reputable piece of content out in that space, it's always gonna be ranked high. It's very equitable and it's very, very long lasting. Your paid media has a finite life along with it. And finally, number 7, deliver an impact with your marketing. Now, what do I mean by that? And I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna end this with a simple piece of marketing, but I believe it's very impactful in many ways, and we'll go through it. I'll show you right now. And you might not think the same thing, but it is, and I'll share with you why. I love this. I love everything about this. This is called clean graffiti. It's very simple. It's basically, you put a print on, so it comes to pressure washes a marketing campaign on a piece of concrete or wherever you want to do it. And I love this. Why do I love this? And I think it's probably one of the most genius pieces of marketing out there. If you're in Charlotte, you do know North Carolina, and they're very well known for this stuff. But play with your feet, play with your heart. Bouncing soccer ball, hashtag Ortho Carolina. Talk with your feet, play with your heart. Everything we just talked about in those first 1 through 6, put your best foot forward online. Okay, maybe not that one. Perception is reality, less is more. Create a memorable message and be authentic. Be a resource, provide education. We're doing a lot of that with this little bit of message. Why? Because look at what's out there in the horizon. Multiple soccer fields. And the way I look at this is this isn't their current patient, this is their next patient that they're marketing for. And that's one thing that we stress. A lot of healthcare marketing focuses on the current patient. We need to really start looking more at the next patient. And how do we do it? And how are they doing that here? Well, you think about it, right where that message is at, it's probably right where people are lacing up their cleats to go get on those soccer fields. Or maybe even sitting on top of it, seeing hashtag North Carolina while they do it. Now, that's the last thing they see when getting on those soccer fields. When they're done playing soccer, it could be the first thing they see when they're getting off that soccer field. And God forbid, maybe they twist an ankle, blow an ACL, hurt a knee or something along the lines. The last thing they saw, and potentially the first thing they see, is Ortho Carolina. And who's going to help them with that? Ortho Carolina. I find it's a very smart marketing. Smarketing, I think, is what people actually term it if you think about it in a certain aspect. So again, deliver an impact with your message. And I think they're really doing that here, and they're doing it in a very tactful way. Particularly it's offline, but it's tactful. So to run through it one more time, number 1 is put your best foot forward online. Why? Again, I will probably, this will probably be on my tombstone when I'm long dead and gone. 82% of all healthcare searches start online. I can't stress that enough. You need to put your best foot forward online and make sure you're targeting yourself to hit those 82%. Next, perception is reality. If your reputation isn't positive online, work at it. Figure out how to make it better. There are tools in place. There are people in place. There's multiple resources out there to help your perception. Number 3, less is more. Focus on doing a few things really good instead of a handful of things just average. You will get a lot more return on that investment. Number 4, create a memorable message and be authentic. Dive into what sets you apart. Maybe you can come up with something along the lines of I'm loving it, or medicine that moves you, or something along those lines. Maybe you can't, but regardless, be authentic with how you're doing it. And 5 and 6 goes along lines with knowing that you have the top 1% of 1% of all human beings in the world at your disposal. So they might not be comfortable being put on, a podcast or a video camera or something along those lines, but we can find ways to extract some knowledge from them and use it to be a resource and to provide education for people. Going back to that newsletter and tell you, when we do newsletter marketing, 90% of it is being a resource, providing education, maybe 10% is selling. And we see a lot of higher than industry standard click-through rates, higher than industry standard engagement rates, a lot of traffic funneled back to where we wanted to go back to on the website, which is another own media. And last but not least, deliver an impact with your marketing. again, that message, that example I showed you with North Carolina is very tactical. It's very well thought out. And it's a very small investment. That was probably just a few $100 to put that thing right there, probably during the peak of, soccer season for all the little tykes out there. I think it's a very impactful message. And I know you can do the same thing with your marketing as well, too. And I tell you what, that took about 5 minutes less than I thought I was going to. I guess I speed up and talk when I'm talking with you guys, but I appreciate the time and the opportunity. I am going to take a peek and see if there's any questions in the chat box right here. But also, we love to talk all things healthcare marketing or find out how we can help you in any ways. Here's our information, your website, email address. You can reach out to me directly or our phone number. Again, our ethos is to help. However that might be, it might be helping, it might be with us, it might be with somebody else, but we would love the opportunity to find out if we can help you, and there's our access to it. And without further ado, I'm going to open it up to questions. I'm going to see if there's anything in the chat real quick and take it from there. All right. Okay, I don't see any questions. Okay, well, if that's the case, again, we'll send this out to you tomorrow morning. So you will get an opportunity to see this, to view this again and review it. And if you ever have any questions, comments, concerns, or think there's some things that we could be doing better, we are all open to it. And I really appreciate the opportunity to help you. And thank you for your time here today. Thanks. Have a great day. Bye-bye.